Hello, EDU 304, and welcome back to our continuing module over the Enneagram. And today we are going to talk about number 3 in particular, the performer. But I just wanted to remind you of the goals of assessment and in terms self-assessment, because that is one of the goals of this Enneagram study. One is obviously for us to be able to relate to the various and diverse personalities we will find ourselves in communication and cooperation with as teachers. But the other goal is for us within our own hearts to judge and measure how we are, who we are, how we perceive the world around us. So as we think about this spectrum of number 3, the performer, from a level of health to an area of lacking health, one of the things we notice about healthy 3s is they are able to be known and be loved for who they are authentically, rather than necessarily crafting a persona, displaying them the way that they think other people want them to be. And so they're able to be secure in their relationships, being authentically themselves as human beings. They still love to set goals and rise to challenges and accomplish things, but their self-worth is not tied to any of those accomplishments or accolades. 3s living at kind of the average level of health tend to pervert achievement and end up striving for overachievement. They're very image conscious, and they worry that their lack of or poor performance might cause them to lose standing with others in their relational world, and others that they might see as superior to them. Like, for instance, in a job situation, if they perform poorly, they'd be very, very concerned then about what their boss might think. And then at the very unhealthy extreme, number 3s find failure unacceptable. They are unable to admit their mistakes. They might have developed a sense of superiority. And they habitually fabricate stories that are hyperboles about themselves and their accomplishments in order to seem more pleasing in the eyes of other people. The deadly sin of the 3 is deceit, and not necessarily deception of others, but oftentimes deception of themselves, because the 3 is a performer and is able to sort of read the room and become what they think other people want them to become. They might find themselves changing like a chameleon their persona based on the different group of friends or the different situation that they're in. And the harm that this could cause is that they become so wrapped up in these alternate personalities, so to speak, that they sort of lose sight of who they are authentically themselves when they're not trying to impress other people. And so some of the questions I put down at the bottom that the book says number 3s are subconsciously thinking or considering are what persona they need to craft to win a certain group of people's approval, or who this group of people wants you to become before they will love or admire or accept you. There's a restlessness that's a quality of emotion in number 3s. For them, image is everything. I thought that was an important phrase to share with you. They do feelings more than actually have feelings. What does that mean? Well, rather than necessarily recognizing and accepting one's own feelings, a number 3 is able to manipulate their feelings so that they're able to express the emotions that they think other people are expecting of them in certain circumstances. So if it's a tragic situation, then they're able to manipulate their feelings so that they're able to give those people what they expect in a sad circumstance. If it's a happy circumstance, they're able to manipulate that. And what's dangerous about this is that neither of those might actually reflect what the 3 is feeling within their own heart. Oftentimes, threes have difficulty or more difficulty than other numbers recognizing and connecting to their feelings. They're masters at performing certain feelings or emotional types of behaviors, but it's often a very shallow personal connection. When we think about their triad, which is the heart triad, the emotion triad, twos, threes, and fours all share a commonality. They're very different, but the common element is that they have a fear of being seen for who they really are. They have a fear of being accepted if they allow people to see who they truly are. And so, as we discussed in the lesson over twos, that manifests itself in this constant helping behavior, because that is what the two expects other people will want to see in them. And with the three, it's more this performance-based behavior. The talk style is what's called or referred to as promotion or sales. If you can imagine a salesperson, like a used car salesman needs to be very charismatic. They need to sort of meet the customer wherever the customer is. And they might even shift the way that they speak or the pacing of their speech or their attitude. They may change language in some cases to maybe they wouldn't normally swear, but they would use profanity if they thought that's what the person they were speaking to wanted or desired or connected to. And I thought this was really interesting. Oftentimes, they will identify themselves not as themselves, but based on their association. So, who am I friends with, or where I went to college, or the age I was when I received this degree or got this promotion. There is very much a craving for achievement and for recognition that's embedded within the heart of a three. Again, these childhood stories are quite stereotypical, but I do think they're helpful in giving us a little bit of a window into maybe some of the things that shaped this particular number in childhood. And for the number three, it's this belief that as they were growing up, people were valued for what they did rather than for who they are. And so there are certain families that I know, some quite well, where they have a very healthy relationship and the parents are able to express to their children that I love you because you're a child of God or because you are innately valuable by nature of being a human being. And then there are others where students or children almost seem to be valued or rewarded based on what they're doing, based upon good behavior, based upon good grades, based upon good attitudes, rather than having this sort of innate security that they in and of themselves have value. And so as a number three in childhood, naturally you're going to set your sights on achieving whatever your family deems successful. And so I give you these two extremes. Your family might say that what equals success is you being admitted into a prestigious Ivy League college like Harvard. And so then that is what the student or the child will set their sights on. And maybe the family on the other end of the spectrum says, hey, being in the mafia, being a criminal is what's important to us. And so then that child will in turn set their sights on being the best criminal, the Don of the mafia, so to speak, if that is what the family seems to value. Because all of us are probably, whether we know it or not, in relationships with threes. And some of us might even be threes ourselves. Here are a couple of things to note about relationships with threes. First of all, if you are a three, you know and recognize that keeping up your appearance is exhausting. All of us have been in a situation where we have tried to sort of put on a happy face. And I know when I am required to be overly sociable at family gatherings or with large groups of people, I sometimes come home from those events and I just crash because it's not my personality naturally, and I'm being somebody who I am not naturally. Because our world promotes self-marketing and success at all costs, it's often difficult for a 3 to find encouragement or accountability to sort of recognize their sins or their missteps and actually reflect upon this and try to change behaviors, because our world is so self-promoting. I mean, even think about the idea inherent in the term selfie, right? Or we talk about people who are content creators branding themselves. We're no longer associating ourselves with the brand of an industry that we work for, but now we can self-brand ourselves. Many 3s suffer as workaholics, again, because they want to be seen as successful and they see product over personality as important in that. Because they alter their appearances to win over different types of people, they often keep, and I thought this was really interesting, they often keep different friendship circles separate from each other. And so they're never going to intermingle their work friends with their school friends, with their church friends, with their Friday night friends, because they are crafting different personalities in every single one of those groups. And so rather than being the same person wherever they go, and so it would naturally be awkward if we had our church friends and our Friday night friends hanging out together, and the number 3 then had to sort of live in both worlds at the same time. In times of stress, the 3 will display traits of an unhealthy 9, which we have talked about in a previous lesson, a peacemaker. They might be prone to vegging out on the couch, losing themselves in busy work, lose their optimism and confidence, and appear stressed out or unmotivated. But in times of security, the number 3 can display traits of a healthy 6, which is a loyalist we'll get to soon. They can become warmer and more in touch with their own feelings and those feelings of others. They're able to become less competitive and less focused on being seen or viewed as the best or the superior. And then they're able to devote more time and energy to family and friends so that they're able to become connected with other people. All right, I'm going to leave it here for today, and I'll see you again for Enneagram 4.